Monday, June 29th, you're watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The 2026 NHL Draft has come and gone. The Montreal Canadiens did make a pick, and they also made a trade to make that pick. We'll talk about all of that. We'll break down the Habs draft class. We'll also talk about the draft itself. Who were the big winners? Who were the big losers? And did the draft format really work? We're going to break it down. Also, tons of trades since we last spoke, of course. We're going to talk about those. There's a pretty significant rumor and rumors coming out of Columbus. We're going to talk about that. And it's our last show before free agency. So we're going to preview that and give you a few names that the Habs might be interested in. And we have a mailbag question. Folks, buckle up. This might be our biggest show yet. And it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shayne here. Simon the Snake Boisvert with me. Snake, how are we feeling today?
Feeling excited, about the draft and maybe not as much free agency, but all these trades that happened last week. It was pretty rock and roll. I remember 10 years ago, you remember when P.K. Subban was traded, Taylor Hall was traded.
To the day.
Yeah, within a few minutes or something. But last week there were a couple of crazy days out there. Really like it. People always like, fans always like player movement. I do too. We get to analyze and break down, and I know not every trade it wasn't like Taylor Hall against Adam Larson. Most of them included picks or futures. Yeah. But it was interesting, the strategy of some teams. Like the Blues, and the Caps, they're not really rebuilding. It's just a retool. Yeah,
that's it. No, it's really interesting to see how teams perceive themselves, Snake, and that's kind of what I take away from that. But we'll break down the trades a little later on. First and foremost, the thing that we look forward to maybe the most on this show, the NHL Draft has come and gone. Another draft class has been drafted to the NHL. Gavin McKenna goes first. No surprise there. Stenberg second. Malhotra goes to his dad's team third. Dax and Rudolph. Not many people had him fourth, but that's where he went. We're going to talk about, the biggest winners, losers, the all of that good stuff. But first and foremost, Snake, we have to talk about the draft itself and the decentralized format, okay? This is year 2 of this new format. Year 1 was a major failure. I think everybody can agree on that. But You know what? We're like, okay, let's keep an open mind. Give the benefit of the doubt. It's a new format. The NHL is kind of getting their bearings here. Let's give them a chance in year 2. What did you make of this year's draft?
Well, basically, in terms of entertainment, I was very busy doing the chat with Mathias Brunet. So to me, the 4 hours that it lasted, it went by fast because I was working. Yeah. But I can understand that for fans, it was long. I think there was a slight improvement with last year. They didn't have these silly Zoom calls to teams. However, I think, and not every hockey fan watches the other drafts, the NBA, the NFL. And they're also decentralized. However, I'm not saying they're perfect, but I think the pace is a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't take 4 hours to make 32 selections. I think if they went down for maybe to 4 or 5 minutes, that would be better. And I do understand that commentators have to show clips of the player. They have to talk about the player. They interview players, but at some point it becomes a little bit redundant. It's like, okay, let's move on to the next pick. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, talking heads around the table, and then there's a player being interviewed, and it's always the same questions. How do you feel about being a Columbus Blue Jacket? Oh, it was my childhood team. Look, I don't know. The NFL goes a little bit faster, as I say.
Yep.
Look, as a scout, I've experienced three types of drafts. I've never been in the NHL, but I've experienced three types of drafts. The first one with the Q, which is the old NHL style. For teams, I have to say that when you're at the draft table, you're constantly hiding your computer screen, you're hiding your papers when someone visits you. So I think we all prefer the COVID-style draft, which was in a war room.
Mm-hmm.
I went through this too. Obviously, it's not that exciting, but you get to be in quiet surroundings. So I think for scouts, it's better. And I also experienced 2 weeks ago in the Junior AAA, it was like NHL style 1970, like in a ballroom.
Yeah.
But the tables are very close. So again, you have to be careful when someone walks up to your table. You hide your papers, you hide your computer screen. It's hard for me to comment on this because I'm involved, as let's call it a worker on these nights, either as a scout or as a draft analyst. But I do. It's because, Shayne, in this day and age, okay, you can be with your buddies at the bar or the cafe, and you can look at the pics on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hard to make a show out of this. I have a friend who tells me, I don't care, just show me the list tomorrow morning. It's like rounds 2 to 7. It's like, just show me the list. It's going to take me 10 minutes to scan through it, whereas I have to sit there for 5 hours. Hearing the teams picking players I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So I might not be the right person to ask, but one day when I don't work on Draft Night, when I'm not a scout anymore, then we'll talk. But I've been watching lots of drafts like these before, and they were live. Not live, but I mean, they were like in person. I think it creates a little bit of atmosphere. I went to the Montreal Forum for drafts. I went to the Bell Center for drafts. There's a buzz. There's a buzz.
No doubt.
And I see it in junior hockey. They still, in Halifax, there were at least 4,000 or 5,000 people, with families and parents. There's a little buzz, especially in the first round. But it's long. It's long. It's very long. We're sitting at the table. We didn't have a first round pick this year. So we're just sitting there. So it's like, okay, can we move on now? Can we move on now? I don't know if there's a recipe for this It's almost as if teams should make the picks like in the afternoon and they show a condensed version in the evening. Yeah. But then Frank Saravelli would probably he's going to leak it like the expansion draft, like what he did for your Seattle Kraken, who happened to get the number 1 rated defenseman by many people, and he was one of the last to be taken. I think all the defensemen that I had ranked in a certain way, my personal preferences, they were drafted in the reverse order.
Yeah. Oh, it was a crazy draft, but Snake, I mean, listen, the draft is always something I look forward to. For years now, it's an event. It really is, and the NHL, to give them credit, has made it into an event.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, it felt like a formality. It felt like, okay, we got to do this, and let's try to make it a show. Let's bring in some big names and whatever. It lost the flair. It completely lost its flair. I'm devastated. This, and I know I might not be the majority here of, hockey fans who love the draft that much, but I really do. To me, it's a special occasion for the future of the league, for the current state of the league, because everybody's there. It's an event. It's a celebration, right? It's a summit. Everybody assembles into one location for one purpose, and that is to solidify the future of the league. I love this. And right now, it doesn't feel like that at all. I hate the new format, hate the way it was done this year yet again. Even though they got rid of the stupid interviews, it was still horrible. The broadcast, I'm sorry, the analysis and the broadcast, abysmal. I'm not going to mince words here. Abysmal. It was so bad, Snake. So I'm once again left disappointed with the NHL. And I know that it's not just the NHL to blame here. It's the Board of Governors. It's everybody involved in the production as well. But thumbs down. Did not like it. No bueno. Switch back. And I know Kent Hughes publicly said he wants to go back to a centralized format. He's probably not the only one saying that, but again, it needs to be a majority. So we'll see. Too many cheapskates around the league, clearly trying to save a buck, whatever.
Or just trying to copy other leagues, just maybe trying to copy other leagues too.
But that's the thing, Snake. That's what I don't like, is you had a unique format that worked better than all the other leagues.
Well,
and you try to copy the ones that are
the
worse.
Ontario Hockey League went back. Well, not I don't know if they ever had it in person, but they had an in-person draft after going online for years and years and years. And the Q, although they had 3 COVID years, they went back to the in-person draft. Went to Halifax this year, going to Victoriaville next year. So there's a reason for it. If junior teams do it with the means that we have, I think the NHL can do it too. I mean, because these drafts cost a lot of money for junior teams. You know, if you compared with the budgets that we have, bringing scouts to Halifax and then, hotel rooms for days and days and meals. But if they do it, it's because it works, I think.
Mm-hmm. And look, I feel the most bad for the players, actually, and the scouts as well, because it's their moment. But the players, they work all their lives to get to that moment, and they put in so much effort and time and money, and finally it's draft day, and you got Justin Bieber coming up on stage and saying, "Mr. McKenna, we would like to draft you to the Toronto Maple Leafs." Shut up! It's terrible, terrible. Anyways. I could go on and on.
And NFL does it well, I would think, because it's the same thing. Players go on the podium and they say hi to Roger Goodell, and I mean they are being introduced usually by a former player or a star. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But honestly, Shayne, for the reasons that I told you, I don't really care whatever they do. To me, it's just 32 guys being picked. But I do feel for fans who enjoyed that evening, who don't get what they're looking for, like you.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm disappointed. I'm not the only one, but regardless, we're gonna talk hockey now, and specifically the Montreal Canadiens. Of course, it's Monday, and we always reserve that day for the Habs. Now, prior to heading into the draft, the Habs were set to pick 28th overall. Lots of discussions were had about whether they were going to trade the pick at all or trade up or make the pick at 28. Well, they decided to trade up with the Vegas Golden Knights. So they traded pick 28 and a 2027 third-round pick to move up to number 26. And with that selection, Snake, they took Gleb Pugachev. He is a 6'3" Russian winger. The weight is not been updated. He is over 220 pounds. That is a big boy. He had a few games in the KHL, mostly in the VHL this past season. Snake, what did you make of that decision?
Well, I wasn't surprised because at some point I said a couple of picks before the Habs turn that I thought it was either going to be Brooks Rogowski or Gleb Pugachev. Rogowski, by the way, was 6'7" guy. Pugachev was, especially with Bobrov and Lapointe, it is really their type of player. Pugachev, I scouted him quite a bit this year because we thought he was going to be available for junior hockey next year.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I scouted him a lot. So I know this player very well. He's a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and other scouts who talked about him, we didn't necessarily see a very, very high ceiling in terms of offense. But we saw a guy who can be extremely useful. Could be on the second line, could be on the third line, could be on the fourth line. I think he can play up and down the lineup because he brings lots of energy, he brings toughness, and he takes no prisoners. And so I think it's exactly what a lot of teams are looking for, especially the Habs. Now, it's an immediate need, but it's not going to be an immediate contribution for Pugachev because, like we were told by his agent, and when we scouted him, is that he's not going to be available for junior hockey because he's going to play in Russia for 2 years. Same for the Habs. Maybe he could get out of his contract next year. We don't know. But anyway,
it's flexible. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see if it's going to be like Zarovsky or he can move in because I think physically he's physically he's NHL ready. I think game-wise, no. He needs to spend another year. Personally, I would have done like, some teams have done, if possible, bring him to Laval this year. But it's not going to happen. He's under contract, probably making more money in the KHL. So about this guy, I think he's going to be a fan favorite once he reaches the Bell Center. Some people have compared him to Tom Wilson. I don't think he's going to be as good offensively. Others compared him to Josh Henderson. I think it's like a reasonable comparison. But, this is going to be an extremely useful player. I think for the Habs, he was the pick to make, really.
Yeah.
Him and Rogowski. I had them both, him and Rogowski. Now, did I have players who were rated higher on my list? Yes. But were the Habs going to take Mattis Preston? I mean, a 5'11 winger? No, it wasn't for the Habs. So, and I know you have to go with best talent available. I always say it. You can always make trades. You know what's going to happen. But at some point, you have to draft these players. Like the Caps, they drafted Tom Wilson, for instance. The Habs drafted Michael McCarron in 2013. 2013, yeah. You have to draft these players at some point. So I wouldn't make it a habit of drafting that kind of player every year. But when you have one, at 26, what are you going to get at 26? You're in third, fourth line territory. 50% chance of not having a very long career. So obviously, if you see a guy that suits exactly, that has a perfect role on a team, because he's going to have a role on a team. His identity is like undeniable. You can't say,
clear.
well, we don't know if he's going to be on the penalty kill or if he's going to be a goal scorer or, can he play physical? No, we know what he's going to be. So I think in that sense, it was a very good pick for the Habs, considering they were drafting 26. And like I said, that's why there was less enthusiasm amongst fans this year for the draft because...
Normal.
The Habs were picking 26 and there were rumors that they were going to trade the pick. And you remember last week I told you, I don't think they're going to trade the pick because...
Did you make that bet with Mathias?
No, but
you would have both lost. You would have both lost.
No, not really, because I remember there was one of the bets that were involved was like they're going to pick 28 and under. And then there was another bet. Yeah, so anyway, look, I even mentioned to you, they moved up for Michael H. They might move up again. They only moved up 2 spots. I don't know if it was necessary, but I think they didn't want to take any risk of losing the player because that would have been very frustrating had this guy been taken at 26 or 27. But I think to me that was pretty much the draft for the Habs. Unlike last year where they threw darts at more skilled players and goalies, and I think this year I think we're going to talk about it on the show, but I wasn't very enthusiastic about the rest of the draft for the Habs.
They went for depth, organizational depth, and
organizational depth. Yeah,
Snake. I mean, Pugachev. We think, okay, well, we've been talking all summer long about the Habs needing to get bigger, needing to get more physical, and all that, and they draft the type of player that they would need right now.
Yeah.
However, you look at the prospect pool. Really, they don't have that many players like him. Like you can say Florian Jacki, maybe Tyler Thorpe to a certain extent.
Yeah.
At forward, right? You got defensemen like Owen Protz that can hit like that, but really, like, he was organizational need through and through. Even though you need him now, you still need him in the prospect pool. So I love this pick, Snake. He's an X factor, right? He's got an ability to hit like unlike any other prospect in this draft, and the speed, the energy, right? The willingness, the desire to go hurt the opposition. That in itself is a skill. It's an asset. It's an X factor. So,
and he's got to make room. He can make room for smaller players. You know how Cole Caulfield didn't have very good playoffs because I feel that he was a little bit like, let's call it, afraid of getting hit. Mm-hmm. So, and at least that's the impression I had from the outside. A guy like Pugachev, he can actually play up and down the lineup, depending on the situation, depending on what's happening in the game. This is a guy that you could put as an energy player. I think his floor is energy fourth liner. Yeah. And I think his ceiling is middle of the lineup player who can play probably 15 to 18 minutes a game and have an impact, not necessarily on the score sheet directly, but on what happens on the ice. You know, you have a Pugachev with you, and at some point, I don't know, you just pair him up with, I don't know, Suzuki and Caulfield, let's say. Not on a daily basis necessarily, but for a few shifts. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh my God, you know? And this is what I expect in the future. Well, Josh Anderson is that type of player. Yeah. And so I think in this case, if this were the NFL and players were ready to play, you know, plug and play, NFL ready, this guy would be in the lineup in October.
Of course, yeah.
But it's not the NFL. We draft players at the age of 18. Give it a couple of years. So probably he's going to have an impact when he's probably 21. Give it 3 years. Yeah. I know it sounds like a long time because the Habs are in their contention window right now. I know it doesn't fill an immediate need, but that's the nature of the draft. You draft for the future, but like I said, at some point, these type of players, once in a while, you have to draft them.
Yeah,
you can't always count on trades, you know, or free agency like they did with Josh Anderson. So good on them. To me, it was either him or Rogowski.
There you go.
Rogowski, I think, was the first pick of the second round by Vancouver.
He was. Yeah, he was.
By Vancouver. It's perfect. So this is probably, I'm sure they went back to the hotel that night and they said, yeah, Rogowski's available.
Mm-hmm. Not for long. But regardless, Snake, I mean, I'm a big fan of this pick. You know what? He'll and people who say, well, you don't draft a guy who's limited offensively in the first round. He's got a good shot. Like he can actually rip the puck, and he's going to be a crash and bang type of guy, right? He'll go retrieve pucks. He'll win puck battles. He'll get assists through that, but he'll also crash the net. Like he'll get those dirty goals. He'll get those. So I don't think that offensively speaking, he's going to be a martyr or anything like that. But yeah, it's a complete player. I like it.
But well, also there is something to be considered. I've always heard scouts say, if you have one thing that you do like on an elite level, you're worthy of being picked in the first round.
That's it, an X factor.
Because if this guy were just like a tough guy, well, let's say, you know, like many of these guys in draft, and you're thinking, okay, it's a tough guy, you won't score much. You don't pick him in the first round. Mm-hmm. But if what you have really stands out, and in his case, because sometimes it's the hands, sometimes it's the skating, sometimes it's size. If you have what he has, which is like, you know, Energizer Bunny type of energy.
In a big frame at that.
In a big frame, then to me, that's one skill, quote unquote, that is considered elite. And then these guys you draft in the first round. So I think that's the nuance I would have, because I always say you draft talent. Yeah, but at some point, if you find someone who has a fantastic skill, I'm thinking of another guy, let's say like Ryan McLeod, for instance. Ryan McLeod's skating was elite, is still elite.
Yeah.
He's not a big offensive contributor, although he's not bad. But he was worthy of being picked because his skating was like right there with almost Connor McDavid skating. So if you have one quality like that, then you're worthy of being picked. And you're worthy of at least getting a chance to be an NHL regular or even impact player.
Absolutely. Snake, as we record this show, I'm keeping an eye, of course, on Twitter to see if there are any updates. And there are. We have a trade involving the Montreal Canadiens, another minor trade, and we'll talk about the other minor trades as well.
Okay.
Joshua Roy has been sent to the Utah Mammoth. In exchange, Montreal receives Maximilian Zuber.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
So,
that's
German defenseman.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that's really that's an AHL trade, if you want my opinion.
Makes sense.
I don't see any of these guys making the NHL. I think right now, I think they've given up on him. He's a restricted free agent, and probably that instead of not tendering him tomorrow, I think tomorrow is the date, or today, or tomorrow.
I believe it's today, actually.
It's today, yeah. I think instead of not tendering him, they're getting a contract back, and this is a guy who's going to play for the Rocket at some point.
There we go.
And if he doesn't matter. So the Joshua Roy era is come and gone in Montreal.
Yep.
We thought for a while he could be a third liner after a nice 20-game stretch a couple of years ago. Never really progressed. He's more like an AHL player for now. I don't know what it is. It's he always seemed like and that goes back to midget AAA hockey. The compete level, the compete level wasn't there because talent was there. He's not a fast skater, but he had great sense of anticipation and good hockey IQ, good in the Rocket. But when you get to the NHL, you have to have a level of intensity that's it has to be right up there, and it wasn't in the case of Roy. So, okay, he was a 5th-round pick, and there's a reason why he was a 5th-round pick. Although he was a number 1 overall pick in the Q many years ago, he was a number 1 overall pick, and then he went from a top prospect to a 5th-round pick to an AHL player. We'll see. Good luck. Maybe they'll find something for him. But Utah is a pretty good team, so it's going to be hard to crack that lineup.
Yeah. Snake, I mentioned off the top of the show that this might be our biggest show yet. Another trade just broke.
Okay, good.
This is an NHL trade. Does not involve the Montreal Canadiens, however.
Okay.
The Vancouver Canucks have traded Niels Höglander to Nashville for a 3rd-round pick in 2029.
Okay, again, could it be that he was not going to be tendered? I don't know of his contract situation. I'm just looking it up right now as we speak. Look, Höglander probably doesn't fit. I think he's a good offensive player, but he probably doesn't fit what the new management wants to do in Vancouver.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy, I would say, that... by the way, he's under contract for two more years at $3 million. So there was not. It was just like either a salary cap dump or simply a player that didn't fit what they're looking for. I think the problem with Höglander is that he's a skilled player, but if you're going to be a skilled player, you have to produce more than he does. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you become. I wouldn't say you become useless. Obviously not. But I think at some point you just become a middle of the lineup regular season player. Yeah. And then you come playoff time, you're like, okay, it's a different game. He doesn't have much of an impact. And I think some NHL teams, they're now trying to copy Carolina probably. And they see that some players don't fit the bill. But you know what? It's fun for Nashville. It's almost like a free offensive player. They will need offense. They need to get younger. I think they had a very good draft this year. So new management, they got all these Colorado players back. So that's my take on the Höglander trade. Not a big trade, but not a minor trade either. Yeah.
While we're on the topic, might as well tackle those two. Luke Tuck goes to Columbus for Hunter McCown, and William Trudeau goes to the Rangers for Brett Berard. Let's
Yeah,
discuss.
yeah. I think what happened with the Luke Tuck trade, again, just like Joshua Roy, I think they figured that he was going to be an AHL player, and at some point you have to move on from these guys, because you're getting new players in. And Tuck, I know a lot of fans thought that he could be an energy fourth liner, a tough guy, but his skill level is not NHL level. And you could see that the day they were drafted. I thought it was a wasted second round pick, honestly. So that's it. And what's the other one you want to talk about? Berard
So
against
William Trudeau for Brett Berard.
Yeah. Again, Berard, organizational depth. He was a talented player coming up to the junior ranks, and then at some point, he, like most players, he reaches like a plateau, doesn't make it. Trudeau, I know Pag, one of our co-hosts on Mathias et Serpent podcast. He liked Trudeau. We always wonder why he never got a chance.
Yeah.
Look, he was drafted by, I think it was the old management that drafted him, I think. Did he ever get a chance? I don't know. Look, he goes to training camp. He played in Laval. If they thought that he was NHL caliber, they would have brought him up. Maybe they were wrong. We'll see. It's up to Trudeau, but it's been a few years now. He's been in the American Hockey League. I think he's a very, very, very good AHL player to have on your roster. As he gets older, probably become, captain of a team.
Yeah.
Like some do. And, at some point, they make good money. You can make $300,000-$400,000. So, look, we wish him good luck. But I think in Montreal, he was never going to make it. We'll see elsewhere. Yeah,
I think he'll have a better chance in New York.
It's possible.
Even though they just drafted Albert Schmitz, he's not coming in right away. New York's defense core is rough. We'll call it that. It's
so
rough.
you never know.
So
maybe as a sixth or
might get a
seventh
chance.
defenseman at some point. These guys sometimes they find a niche when they're like 23, 24, 25. I think it's funny to say, but I was looking at players, and sometimes a fourth, fifth round player who has a niche as a sixth or seventh defenseman or a 14 forward sometimes has a better chance of making it than a skill guy who, if he doesn't score 30 goals, he's useless.
Yeah.
And even if he's a first or second rounder. So it's kind of interesting because when you look at rosters, how many times do you see a fifth rounder and you're thinking, why the heck is he in the NHL? He was drafted after so-and-so and so-and-so who didn't make it. Well, it's because you have what we call role players.
Yeah. Specialties,
Role players that you don't want to pay too much because, there's a salary cap and you can't have 6 puck movers on your defense core. So at some point, these guys, and when we talk about the Habs draft, this is exactly what's happening right now. One of these guys can become a role player, although right now, I don't see any of them. But there's going to be one probably, I would say, in the long run. They will say, oh, that was a 4th round pick. What a great pick. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. A little more, Snake, on Maximilian Zuber, the newly acquired Montreal Canadiens / Laval Rocket defenseman. He's 6'3", 220 pounds, 23-year-old left shot, born in Poland, but he played in DEL quite a long time. Last season with the Tucson Roadrunners in the AHL, 27 points in 65 games. So again, that's an AHL move.
Yeah, the Habs are looking for size. He's been playing in Tucson for a couple of years. Although he has decent stats for a defenseman, I do think that he's more if he ever makes it to the NHL, because I think he played like 1 game or 2 games. I think if he ever makes it to the NHL, it's going to be more as in a defensive role, tough guy. This is a guy, because he's like 23, 24, he's the type of player who could be a call-up in case of because he has lots of AHL experience now, 2 years. Could be a call-up. He's a big guy. We might see him at some point when there's there's injuries. Because you have some of these AHL players, you know they're not going to be called up. But there are some that you feel like, well, you know, you need a guy for a game or two. So I think considering, you know, they give up Roy, whose career was pretty much, you know, on a treadmill, going on a treadmill in Montreal, I think it's not a bad move. He's a big defenseman, you never know.
Well, we've digressed quite a bit now. Let's go back to the draft because that's what we were talking about. We'll get to more trades later on in the show, the major trades across the NHL. But Snake, heading into the second round, the Habs were set to pick 61st overall, but they decided, we're moving up yet again. They traded the 61st and the 125th to move up to 57th, and they drafted defenseman Tim Runso. 6'2", right shot defenseman from California, played with the Victoria Royals last season, 44 points in 68 games. What did we make of this selection?
Well, this is a guy who wasn't drafted last year when he was eligible for the first time. Look, he was playing in North American Hockey League, which is obviously not a hotbed for prospects. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised, but he had a very decent season. Maybe like Bryce Pickford the season before in Medicine Hat. So they probably try to. It's like copy paste, although it's not the same type of player. I think I like the fact that he progressed. You know, you go from undrafted in the North American Hockey League to a very decent player in Victoria. So I do like the idea. Would he have been my pick? No. Adam Valentini was still on the board.
Yeah.
And he lasted till 96. We'll get to this later. I think I know why he lasted till 96. I would have gone for Valentini, obviously. But he's a good skater. I can't say he has a good shot, but I can say he's highly skilled, let's say. Mm-hmm. He might have a very good season next year, but don't let the numbers fool you at some point if he gets 70 or 80 points. He could make it as a third pairing because he's a big guy, although I don't find that his toughness matches his size. So if you're not good enough offensive, if you're not skilled enough, if you're not tough enough, and you're 6'3", although you skate well, what can you become? So maybe a vanilla type of number 6 defenseman, which is to be expected when you draft 57th. Mm-hmm. I mean, not every late second round pick is Lane Hudson. But my expectations are not very high for him. I would say ceiling is number 6.
There you go. I mean, 6'2", right shot defenseman. Fine pick there. Worthy of moving up, however, debatable. Very debatable, but the Habs had lots of picks, so it doesn't really matter. But they must have seen something there.
Yeah, they must have seen something, but very debatable. Valentini, 5'9", but so energetic, so good offensively. Played for Michigan at age 17, which is not easy.
Teammates with Michael Hage.
Yeah, I think the reason why he was not picked earlier than 96 by Utah is because last year he was supposed to go play in the Ontario Hockey League for Kitchener, but then he shifted at the last second. And when you shift at the last second to go to the NCAA, doesn't sit well with NHL management. I'm just speculating here, but I think that could be because yes, he's 5'9", but come on, he was a 17-year-old. He was one of the youngest players in the NCAA this year, just like Ethan Verhove, Ilya Morozov, and this guy gets picked 96. I saw him live. Fishy. I mean, he's there's something fishy out there with Valentini.
So, moving on to the third round, Snake, the trend continues. They go with a overage defenseman, 93rd overall, Cooper Cleaves, who they're very familiar with because he was invited to development camp last season.
Yes.
A 6'3" right shot defenseman, 20 years old, however. Played in Dartmouth College last season, 10 points in 30 games. I don't know that they're drafting him for the offensive upside, however, Snake.
Well, he played with Martin Saint-Louis' sons in minor hockey, so that's probably why they've known him for long. And, the Habs, we've noticed it. They like the Boston, New York, whatever, Connecticut area clique. I I think his main quality, I saw him in Dartmouth, which is weak caliber, by the way. This is not Michigan or Boston University caliber. I think this guy, he's mobile. He's 6'3", but I don't find his compete level that high, and I don't see any NHL skills. Rocket player for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, getting into the third round.
Yeah, that's what you're going to get. Yeah, organizational depth. Organizational depth. Yeah.
There you go. And this is a player that they're familiar with. Overager as well, meaning that, you know what, he might be closer to making the jump than if they were to pick an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I kind of understand it from that standpoint, but once you get into the 90s, I mean, yeah, you're just hoping for a miracle at that point. So, again, 117th overall. They go with another defenseman here.
Yes.
This time, Braden Klimke of the Saskatoon Blades, 6-foot left shot defenseman, 18 years old this time around. 47 points in 68 games. So obviously, more of an offensive-minded defenseman here. 43 assists. Great playmaker.
Yeah, he is. But again, the skill level is not unique. It's not elite.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's good for junior hockey. But I just see another Rocket player here. Well, which makes sense. I mean, the 117 pick. I just find that contrary to last year when they went for guys like LG Mooney, who you never know. He had a very good season in Minnesota. It could become trade bait at some point if you don't want another small player in the lineup. I think guys like Cleves and Klimke, I don't know what kind of value they would have in next 2-3 years on the trade market. They would just be a throw-in. Could they develop into something, a 6th or 7th liner? I think Cleves and Klimke, I just see Rocket players.
Organizational depth, and you know what? Defensemen come at a premium, so who knows if they have a good season, might be trade bait. But regardless, now they go forward. 189th overall, and a lot of people recognize the last name here.
Yeah.
Parker Trottier,
grandson of Brian. Yeah. He played for the USNTDP, which was not very strong this year. I would say this is really, he's a pest. He's it's awful to play against him. If you're he's really, really, oh boy. I mean, I wouldn't want to play against him, which makes him
always a compliment.
Complete level is so high.
Yeah.
Obviously not a great offensive player. I think in this case, I think he really fits the profile of a fourth liner. But with these guys, like I said, chances are they won't make it, because 6th-round picks usually don't make it. But it's the type of guy you never know as a fourth liner. Even if he scores like 4 or 5 goals a year, energy players come and go. You need new blood. You need cheap contracts, on your team. So Trottier, I feel has a slight chance of becoming a fourth liner.
Yeah, and they follow it up with the very next pick with another forward. This time, Wesley Royston gets pick 190th overall, played with the Erie Otters and the Owen Sound Attack this season in the OHL. 6'4" forward from Ontario. Big boy.
Yeah, you know what? He has decent skill level, I would say. He skates well, but he's not a playmaker at all. I think his ceiling is bottom 6, floor Rocket player.
Yeah. At that point, that's all you're hoping for, really, if you can turn into an NHL
Like I
player.
say, one of these guys we
AHL
talked
player.
about, whether it's be Cleves or Klimke or Trottier, Royston, any of these guys, maybe one of them at some point will make it. We just don't know who right now, and they might not make it at all. That's why I say that the draft this year, it was Pugachev.
Of course.
Yeah.
He was the main get,
Yeah.
and you know what? That's where they had to take the big swing, and
But
I think they hit it out of the park.
on trust the process, we're going to follow these guys closely in the next few
Oh,
years.
you know it.
And you know, if someone is trending up at some point, we'll cover it. We'll cover it.
Bingo. All right, 2 more to go.
Yeah.
Next one was Jean-Samuel Daigneault of Saint-Michel, Quebec. 6'3" defenseman, left shot, played for the Muskegon Lumberjacks this season in the USHL.
Interesting case. He was a second-round pick by the Shawinigan Cataracts, 35th overall in the Q draft 2 years ago, just 2 years ago. Went to the States, played for Collège Charlemagne in Longueuil, and now he went to the Lumberjacks, going to OHL next year. Ontario Hockey League, surprisingly. So he was probably released by Shawinigan because these things happen, you know, transfers from OHL to Q or Q to OHL. So he's going to the OHL. That's pretty interesting. This is a guy who hits very hard. And so you see a trend here with the Habs draft. He hits very hard.
Large.
Yeah. And he has good speed. I liked him when he was playing for Collège Charlemagne. Does he have NHL potential? I would say, again, we're talking about a tough 6 or 7 defenseman as the ceiling. But there is room for improvement. So with this guy, I would say you never know. You see, I have these guys when I go rocket, and some of these guys say, you never know. You never know with this guy. I like his compete level, which is very important. Yeah,
that's all you can ask for. And the final pick of the
Yes.
entire draft,
Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah, well,
this year is Tyler Dekos.
You know what? I might surprise you, Shayne, but he might not be as irrelevant as we think.
Interesting. 6'1" forward, left shot from Alberta, 19 years old, an overager. Picked 224th by the Habs. Played with the Waterloo Blackhawks in the USHL this season. 17 points in 19 games. How about that?
Well, Alberta Junior Hockey League guy. That's why he was passed on last year. Only played 2 games there, so he was probably not very known by scouts. And also the caliber of play that he was not great. Now, this guy, I have time for him. And you might say, 224th pick. Are you nuts? Well, yeah, I'm nuts sometimes. I know. That's
why we love you.
This is a guy I'm gonna follow closely this year. He's gonna be playing for Penticton in the WHL. It's his 19-year-old season. He might have a very, very good season. We'll see. The thing is, this guy he has 2 things that I love. He skates and he has very good hands. So this guy, who knows, really? He might hit the wall at some point. I know it. He might get to the Laval Rocket or college hockey, and then you're like, okay. Snake was totally off, way off. I'm not saying he's going to make the Habs one day. I'm just saying he's worth following. Because I do see skills. The reason why I think he was drafted so late was because, as you see by the number of games that he played, he was injured. Not very well known from the scouting community, probably injured. But going to the WHL, good hands, good skating. We shall see. Of all the late prospects, well, aside from Pugachev, this is probably the one I'm the most interested in next year. I'm going to be following him very closely, but he has to have a great season as a 19-year-old. I mean, if he gets 38 points in 64 games, I think we're just going to forget about him. But if he's over a point per game player and he contributes and he can show his skills and Tyler Dekos.
All right.
Yeah.
We have another deal, Snake.
Yes.
Just came in. Courtesy of Eric Engels.
Oh.
It is official. Brendan Gallagher is a Vancouver Canuck.
Oh, and what's the return?
So the return has not been announced yet. This just came in.
Okay.
As I look to Twitter,
expected.
I see Eric Engels said Brendan Gallagher being traded to the Canucks. So
look, he played there. He played his junior hockey career in Vancouver for the Giants a million years ago. look, the Habs are clearing cap space. They're also not only clearing up roster space, but I think avoiding an uncomfortable situation where basically he would not have been playing very much in Montreal.
Yeah.
You know, just like in the playoffs, and you want to respect a guy who was so good for the Habs for so many years. He left his heart on the ice, went through some very so-so years where he was probably one of their best forwards, if not their best forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a classy move, and I don't know, Vancouver. I'm curious to see are the Habs getting something back? It's just future considerations, or are the Habs giving away a 5th-round pick just for them to take on the contract?
Well, I'll keep you guys updated. I'll keep an eye on Twitter here as the show goes along. But yeah, this is crazy. I mean, we knew this was going to happen, but like so many things are happening as we're recording, Snake. This is a lot of fun. But yeah, Brendan Gallagher, obviously, we knew that his time was up with the Habs. Doesn't hurt less, however, for people my generation who grew up watching and idolizing this player. Exemplified character, right? It's just
that's your generation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
Wow.
Yeah, because he came to the Habs when you were probably in grade 6 or something.
I was 12, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I am 26 now. So
yeah, that's your
idea.
teenage years, young adult years, college years. Yeah, I can understand. I can relate to that. Although these players could go back to the 70s and 80s, but I can relate to that. You know, players who were I started following when I was 8, 9 years old, and they took me to college basically.
That's it.
Before they retired. Yeah.
While we wait for trade details, Snake. Overall, the Habs draft, we've gone through the class here. How do you rate it? What do you think of the class overall?
Well, I understand the strategy of getting bigger, but these guys obviously are not going to help right away. It's not the NFL. They're not going to fill an immediate need. I prefer the strategy they had last year, basically going for broke or taking chances on more skilled players. So Pugachev, I like the pick. This is the one that matters. I like the pick very much. The rest of the draft, I'm not too. There's other players that I would have taken a chance on.
Yeah, but like you say, you had to hit on the first round pick.
Yeah,
and I think
that's the important thing. Yeah, especially when you pick late. 26 and 57 is not like picking 5th and 34th. Let's say.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's all you could ask for at this point. Snake, listen, this show could literally be 3 hours long, but we'll try to condense it as much as possible here.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the rest of the draft in general.
Yes.
I have a pretty good idea of your answer for my next question here, but I'll ask it anyways. Which team did the best in this year's draft?
I think it's all about value picks. And believe it or not, I identified about 10 teams who I think did very well in terms of value picks. Yeah, I mentioned Nashville earlier in the show.
Wyatt Cullen, baby. Yes, sir.
Sorry. And, Anaheim, I think, did well. And mostly, you need lots of picks to be able to make your mark because you only have one pick. You know. Seattle, your Kraken did well. Well, Chase Reed fell on their lap, obviously.
Thank you.
But I liked other picks also that they made. But like everybody else, I have to go with the Sharks, really.
That's
getting Stenberg at number 2.
Ridiculous.
It's because they get a guy who's gonna be a Calder Trophy candidate next year. He's coming to San Jose, probably gonna be playing on the top 6 with Celebrini. As for the other 2 guys, Keenan Verhoff, who dropped to number 9 after being the one of the favorites to go 1 or 2. I'm talking back last year at this time. And Ryan Lynn, who I'm not sure of. Lots of draft analysts love this guy because of his skating and offensive skills and compete level. I'm just not sure yet. But if he does hit, I mean, watch out. This is exactly what the Sharks need. But again, he's like 2-3 years away. Verhoff is an interesting case. I thought he was going to be better offensively, and I was a little bit disappointed at the fact that his decision making in the offensive zone is not great. Not sure he's going to be a power play guy. Maybe number 2 unit. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see. So I think potential-wise, the Sharks get top marks, but Verhoff and Lynn, I'm more in a we'll see mode than some evaluators, draft analysts, who thought that they were getting like a top pairing with Verhoff and Lynn. I think there's no guarantee over there. But they did well. They traded Eklund. They traded down to get Kesselring. Then they traded back up. So I think it was a masterclass in terms of draft strategy. It was a masterclass.
Yeah.
But there's always a little bit of luck, lottery, Verhoff falling, even Ryan Lynn falling. He could have been picked a little bit earlier. So, but considering all factors, it was a masterclass by Greer. And in the last round, they went with the 7'1" guy.
Karmanov. I was so happy when I saw that.
I don't know what's going to happen with this dude, but he is a specimen. He is something else. And in the 4th round, they took one of the best goalies in the draft, Brady Noling, who was the American goalie this year for the USNTDP. Some kind of potential. So I think San Jose did very well. But there's some other teams. I believe it or not, it's rare that I say that, but I like the Kings draft. They got Hermanson, in the 1st round. The Rangers did well too. They took our goalie from Gatineau, Danai Chaikov.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who was our MVP this year. I
cool.
mean, he was really a big contributor in the fact that we made the playoffs. So yeah, our goalie's going to the New York Rangers. Nashville, like I said, did well. Buffalo was okay. It was kind of a surprise pick with Daxon Rudolph at number 4. It's like, don't they have enough defensemen? But at the same time, was a forward worthy of this? Viggo Bjork, was he worthy of being the number 4 pick? That's what I was thinking. I said, and is Buffalo going to take Viggo Bjork? Look, they went with who they thought was probably the best player available. But it goes to show you, I mean, Chase Reed was what, the 4th defenseman chosen? Or 5th?
Yeah,
Smits, Rudolph, Smits. Carl's went before.
Yeah. Carl's went to Calgary.
So he was the 4th. Yeah, he was the 4th. Yeah. But you know what? On another team's list, he might have been the number 1.
On a lot
so
of teams.
I wouldn't worry too much if I were him. Maybe he was disappointed to be the number 7 pick because he was talked about as number 1 or number 2 at some point. But it depends on each team's list. Had Buffalo had him number 1, they would have picked him.
And he'll get a chance in Seattle. Like their D depth, we'll call it, is quite thin. So
I think it was the perfect match for this guy.
Incredible.
I think he's going to be there not necessarily this year, but next year. And they desperately need a real potential number 1 defenseman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Snake, before I ask you my next question,
yeah.
We have the trade details. Brendan Gallagher, officially a member of the Vancouver Canucks. The Montreal Canadiens retaining 50% of his salary for future considerations. So that means the Habs do not attach a pick to Gallagher.
So that was probably the idea. Had Vancouver taken on the whole salary, the Habs would have attached a pick. So
makes sense.
So it's not about really clearing cap space. It's a roster spot. It's just showing. It's courtesy almost. It's like, okay, we give you a chance to finish your career in Vancouver. It's probably Brendan Gallagher's last season, I would think, unless they re-sign him for $1 million next year. And in Vancouver, look, there's no pressure to perform. This team is rebuilding. They're probably going to be aiming for Landon Dupont next year. So good for him. Good for him. And nice memories for Habs fans.
Oh, wow. Legend. Absolutely. Okay. 2 more superlatives or draft awards that we got to get to. First and foremost, the best value pick or picks if you'd like to give me more
Okay.
than one. But the guys that maybe fell or you thought was a perfect pick for whichever team picked them.
Well, obviously, if you look at later round picks, okay, let's call it this way, it's obviously Adam Valentini for me at number 96. I think you have a potential middle of the lineup player at 96, which is very rare. So I think this is a great value pick. In the first round, I have to say it pretty much went as expected.
Yeah.
You remember, it was very close to my top 20. I think I had 17 guys picked in the top 20. It was more of a conservative list that I had this year, but not because I want to be conservative, just because it just went this way. Adam Novotny in Vancouver at 24. I think in the first round is probably the best value pick.
I love
considering that he was, I thought he should have been picked earlier. Chicago took Villeneuve and Rubrek. They could become value picks, but for now we don't know. Because Rubrek, we talked about his lack of effort. Villeneuve, he had a disappointing season. I would say he was also injured, but maybe in Chicago, they need a guy like this. So I think there are potential value picks. Mattis Preston at 50 for Anaheim, I think has a chance to be a good top 9 player. I like Ben McBeat for the Rangers at 64. I thought I had him more like late first round. So I think he's an interesting player for this rank of selection. Los Angeles, Blake Zielinski, number 80. Could be an NHL player at number 80. But I think my award goes to Valentini.
Yeah. Utah did really well. I like the Balchet's pick as well in the first round. Good job on Utah for that. Now, flip side here, biggest reach of the draft. Who went way higher than they should have?
Again, I'm not too... I didn't faint when I saw any of the picks, where they were drafted. I would say that I'm not sure about Oliver Suvento at number 18 for Washington. But I know a lot of people ranked him there, but I think it was a little bit high for that type of player. So I would go with Suvento, but not a major reach, I would say.
Nothing
not a
egregious.
major reach.
Yeah,
he went, and look, Colin Lawrence, Alexander Command. You remember Alexander Command? I was very high on him. I had him at number 9. He went number 12. So I would say, yeah. No, not a draft that may make me fall off my chair or swear or no, but it's true. I think we have to talk about the Ruck brothers, the Ruck twins.
It was over the moon, Snake, on day 2 when I saw the Pittsburgh Penguins.
It was to be expected.
Ruck.
A lot of people think, they just let Pittsburgh take him. I don't think this is what happens. I think the minute someone was going to take a Ruck twin, they were going to take the second one, and teams were not going to touch them. Not because they want to be nice. NHL teams are not nice to each other. I think there were 2 reasons. First of all, Marcus, I don't think is an elite player, and I'm not even sure how his career is going to turn out in the NHL because he's really not a good skater. And the second reason, I think, is, these twins, we always think about the Sedins, and that they needed to play with each other to be successful. And the Ruck twins, it's always thinking, well, we've been playing together since we were 4 years old. And I think teams, whether or not they believe this mantra or not, they probably think that if you draft the other guy, he won't be as good. So if you think that Marcus, let's say, I'm just saying anything, let's say he's a 50-point player with his brother, you might think that if he's not playing with his brother, he might just get 30. So he's not worth being taken. Is it right? Is it wrong? Look, we don't have enough jurisprudence on this. We had the Sedins.
Yeah.
But had the Sedins been playing for separate teams, which would have been possible, you know, say Daniel in Vancouver and Henrik in Chicago, then you could tell, oh, well, they both got 100 points and it's fine. But now we're always thinking, well, the Sedins are only good together. So I think the Ruck brothers, that's how teams approached it. And it's like, okay, Pittsburgh, you took him. Take the other one. I don't care.
That's it. And that's
But
exactly
it's
what
always an interesting story to follow. They are not the Sedins, obviously. Otherwise, they would have been drafted higher. There are skating issues with these guys. But it's always intriguing to follow.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, these guys.
Pittsburgh did some things interesting this year. They went full talent. You know, full upside.
Yeah.
They took Pearson Bowie as well. You know, I didn't mind their draft. Kyle Dubas goes full talent, big swing. So yeah,
I don't know where this is going in Pittsburgh because, you know, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang keep playing, and they don't get traded and they don't retire. And Pittsburgh doesn't get to draft these big stars either. But it's interesting the kind of moves that they made since Kyle Dubas got to run the team.
Absolutely. Snake, I think we've covered the draft, but we're only about halfway through this show, Snake. This is a big one. And before we move along, of course, a quick word from our partners, Cheapest T-Shirts.
Stop overpaying. Buying t-shirts, hoodies, or blank apparel? Same brands, same products. Lower prices. No minimums. Buy one or 1,000, same price. Fast Canada shipping. Multiple warehouses. Stop overpaying. Visit cheapesttshirts.ca.
And we always thank Cheapest T-Shirts for their partnership. As well, a word from, we'll talk about Betway. Don't select the bus with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen right here or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario, and you must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. All right, Snake. There have been many trades since we last spoke, so we're going to rifle through them, the big ones, and we're just going to give our initial thoughts on them. So
our last show was Thursday morning, so there has been some action.
We're going to go in chronological order. So the first trade that happened since was Valeri Nichushkin going to Columbus in exchange for a second, a third, and a fifth. First thoughts.
What the heck is this? I mean, I know they had to clear cap space, but did it have to be Nichushkin and second-round picks, third-round picks?
Yeah.
Okay, the Avalanche has really not improved this year. We knew they had to get rid of players for monetary reasons, but this is really bad for the Avalanche. Really bad.
Like, I'm curious because Nichushkin, okay, you know, we like to talk hockey here, but we'll also have to talk about outside of hockey. Off the ice, he's not been an angel.
No,
I think it's fair to say. Yeah. Could that maybe have factored in the decision to not only move on from him, but the price being so low?
Yeah, it's possible because he's under contract at a very reasonable amount of money for many years. He's not that old. He's 31 years old, or he's going to be 31 years old. It's possible that but also the fact that they had a cap crunch, it lowers your and probably not a lot of suitors. So that's what happened. But I just think that the Habs are not getting any better by getting rid of Nichushkin. Yeah,
kind of in a bind here. All right, next up, the Buffalo Sabres get another defenseman. Olen Zellweger is going to Buffalo, and Anaheim in return gets Anton Wahlberg and a 2026 second-round pick. I don't have in front of me who Anaheim picked with that one, but nonetheless, what do we think of this?
Yeah, I like Anaheim's pick. I think it was Mattis Preston.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Wahlberg and Preston for Zellweger. Nice.
Now, the Ducks, you remember a couple of years ago, they had all these young defensemen, and it was all mapped out for the future. That's why I always tell fans, when you make these rosters down the road and you have all these prospects, and trust me, it's not going to go this way. And this is what's happening with Anaheim. And they probably they didn't want like another small puck mover. So they get with Wahlberg, they get a guy who has AHL experience already at his age. I think he can be a decent bottom six player. And they got the second round pick with Preston, who could be a middle of the lineup player. So right now in Anaheim, Carlson's not returning. He was traded. His rights were traded. Zellweger's not returning. Gudas is not returning probably. And I think there's another one who's not returning. Jacob Trouba is not returning. Okay, what's going to happen now? They have Tristan Luneau in the American Hockey League. I think he has to make the team now. He's 22 years old. He has to make the team. Are they going to sign free agents? Who knows? Very strange that... very, very strange what's happening in Anaheim, which shows that, when you have a bunch of 18, 19, and 20-year-old defensemen, it's not linear. It's not linear. No. But they have to figure out if they want to be a contender, because right now they're good. They're a good playoff team. They won a round. But if they want to be a contender now in Anaheim, they have to obviously figure out what's going to be their defensive core for the next few years, because they have it all figured out on offense.
That's it. We're not done with the Anaheim Ducks. They made a whole lot more moves. But next up, J.J. Peterka is now a member of the Boston Bruins in exchange for the 23rd overall pick and a 2028 conditional first-round pick.
Yeah, I would assume that pick is going to be the lowest between Boston and Toronto. I would assume. I don't know the conditions, but that would be logical, because you're not going to risk a top 10 pick for J.J. Peterka. Now, Peterka is a player I've always liked. He was playing with Stützle, drafted at the same time. I didn't understand why Ottawa passed on him to pair him up with Stützle. But one thing that I've realized over the years, watching him in Buffalo and Utah last year, okay, this is a young guy who can score, who's been traded twice now in a year. And there's a reason for it. And the reason being is that basically he doesn't get involved physically, and it's like he gives a body check once every 10 games.
Yeah.
So he's a little bit on the soft side. And again, if you're going to be on the soft side, you better score 40 goals, which is not his case, I would assume. But look, Boston needs offense. He doesn't have the Bruins DNA, that's for sure. But we've seen players like that before, and they get to Boston, and they totally morph into what they call a Boston Bruin stereotype. So we'll see. But at least he brings offense to a team that desperately needs offense, lacks offense right now. They desperately need it. I remember one game I went to see in Boston towards the end of the year. We talked about it. Look, they work hard, but man, aside from Pasternak and a couple of other guys, they're very limited offensively. So in that sense, it's good. Let's see what the 28th pick ends up being. I doubt that it's going to be a high pick, even if Toronto totally bombs. They probably protected the pick.
Exactly. Next up, the New York Rangers acquire Pavel Dorofeyev, one of the top RFAs this summer, and they sign him to a very lucrative 7 times $11 million contract. Wow. In exchange, the Vegas Golden Knights get pick number 26 in this year's draft, the 2026, 2026 third, and a 2028 conditional first.
I like the fact that Dorofeyev is still a young player. So I do understand what the Rangers did. I just don't know where the Rangers are going with all this. But taken, in a nutshell, under a dome, let's say, in a bubble, I think this is a very good trade for New York. I just don't know if that's what the doctor ordered for them in order to be back in contention. But the return is fine for Vegas. Probably opens the door for Trevor Connolly to make the roster next year, because they're going to need a scorer, a cheap scorer. So cheap contract, 11 million. They couldn't afford it. They
No.
probably didn't want to give it to him. But what a great player. And that's another Vegas draft pick being traded. He was one of the only guys on the roster that was originally drafted by the team. Nice find in the third round.
Oh, big time.
Now he's a Rangers. Who knows what the Rangers' plan is now? They drafted a couple of interesting players. They're trying to sort of rebuild on the fly or reset. Or it's very lots of teams are doing this now. They're trying to combine draft picks, prospects with a major acquisition, like the Blues did.
Is it too much money, Snake, do you think?
For
Or is it a
Dorfeyev,
good contract?
well, look at the stats. It's the market.
Yeah.
Is it too much? Maybe, but it's the market. I mean, the guy scores. You as he approaches free agency, 11 million. That's the norm.
Man,
We got to get used to this
Jason
now.
Robertson's gonna get.
We got to get used to seeing these 16, 17,
Yeah.
18 million dollar contracts for players
new
who we
norm.
feel are not necessarily megastars or franchise players, as well as seeing fourth liners making 3-4 million a year.
It's the new norm.
Well,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
terrified of what Jason Robertson's going to make.
Oh,
if he
man,
if he
yeah.
turned down 15 million from Seattle, good luck.
Yes.
That's going to be something.
Yeah.
Next up, Mason McTavish. For
Yeah.
however long we've been talking about this guy, finally gets traded to the St. Louis Blues in exchange for two of their first 4 first-round pick. Number 15 and number 29 goes to Anaheim. With the 15th pick, of course, they take Klepov there, so good pick. But what do we make of McTavish in St. Louis?
Well, the Blues, again, they had a lot of draft capital, 4 first-round picks, and they feel that, they could afford spending 2 of them on an NHL player. Mm-hmm. When a player like McTavish gets traded, especially at a young age, I always wait and see. Like when he gets to his new team, if perhaps a new environment, a new, I don't know, new dynamics or whatever can change the direction of his career. But last year was a very disappointing season. McTavish doesn't skate very well. He's always perceived as this tough guy, but he's not. He wasn't very visible on the ice. He's not a big point producer, especially for a number 3 overall pick. So I think they got fed up with him.
Yeah.
Well, not fed up, but I mean, they just gave up on him. They figure, okay, he's not going to be what we thought he was going to be. For the Blues, they're trying to combine draft picks with the present. They want to put a competitive team on the ice. I give it a year. I want to see what McTavish does in St. Louis, but let's just say I would not have made that trade had I been the Blues. And Anaheim got Nikita Klepov with that pick. One of my favorite players in the draft this year.
Incredible talent. Absolutely there. All right. The Utah Mammoth move again. This time they acquired goaltender Sebastian Cossa, another player that's been in the rumor mill for quite some time. In exchange, the Detroit Red Wings got the number 23 pick, which I believe they used to select J.P. Hurlburt. So what do we make of this trade, Snake?
Very often you develop a goalie for another team. That's why I always say that I'm okay with drafting goalies. I always say draft a lot of goalies in the later rounds. But Sebastian Cossa was a first-round pick. And this is where, to me, it was a little bit iffy to spend a first-round pick on a guy who's going to take 4, 5, 6 years before he has an impact, sometimes even 7 for goalies. But you know what? What you do is you just sit there, you let other teams pick these guys, and then when they're NHL ready, okay, I'll give you the 23rd pick. I think Detroit probably identified Trey Augustine as their future goalie, and that's why they had to give up. And they recoup a first-round pick that they had wasted on Justin Falk a few months ago. So I think it was like salvaging something, damage control, seeing that Cossa was not going to be the man. We'll see what happens in Utah, but because they already have a goalie. But Costa, I think this year, I would think, is going to make the NHL because he could be, if I'm not mistaken, waiver eligible.
They need goaltending there anyways.
Because it's 3 years for players, but it's 4 years for goalies. So we'll see. I'm not. Maybe some listeners can do the research, but it's possible that Costa was going to have to be on an NHL roster this year.
He'll have a spot in Utah. There's no debate there.
Yeah.
All right, the St. Louis Blues were not done because they acquired Brandon Carlo from the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for 2 third-round picks. How does Carlo fit in St. Louis, Snake?
Well, again, they have a very aging defense core, except for Mailloux and Broberg. Look, I don't know. All I can say is that it was a disastrous trade for Toronto last year because they gave up a number 1 pick, which is still to be decided what it's going to be worth, and especially Fraser Minton. What a nice young centerman for Boston. Nice young centerman. A horrible trade, and now they get 2 third-round picks. So again, it's Chaika putting his stamp on the team. Didn't want Carlo, got something in return, and St. Louis, rebuilding on the fly, trying to stay competitive. I think he's gonna be fine, but he's on the back nine of his career.
Yeah, and the last one, Snake, is a very interesting trade because this player is a UFA. Talking about John Carlson getting traded to the reigning Stanley Cup champion Carolina Hurricanes for Kyle Masters in the 6th-round pick. But they haven't signed John Carlson, and he's wanting upwards of $10 million, Snake. So this is not a sign and trade. This is just a trade to be able to negotiate ahead of time, but doesn't mean he'll sign there.
They bought a few days to talk to him before he reaches free agency. The fact that no contract was signed shows exactly what you're saying, is that they just took a flyer on his rights. Maybe he'll sign today, tomorrow, who knows? But it was certainly not an prearranged trade like, let's say, the Alex Tuch trade.
No. So interesting to see that. Rumors are that he might be interested in going to Tampa Bay. We know they need some defense help with losing Darren Radish there. So, to be determined.
It's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive for a guy who's like, 34, 35, 36, I don't know, but in mid-30s. And
he's seeking upwards of 10.
Who defensively is not an asset on a team. Offensively, he's still good, but defensively, he's not what he used to be. I would not have touched him with a 10-foot pole. Had I been Anaheim, I would not have given up a first-round pick, 16th overall for him, something like that this year. I think it was a bad move by Anaheim. Carolina, why the hell do they want to sign him? What's their plan?
There's rumors that they want to trade Nikishin, so who knows? That might be it.
Strange. Very strange. Yeah. Strange move.
We'll get more answers on Wednesday here as July 1st rolls around. But speaking of July 1st, Snake, it's our last show before July 1st, so we have to preview the UFAs and the ones that could be interesting for the Montreal Canadiens. However, before we do that, there is a persistent trade rumor linking the Montreal Canadiens to a Blue Jacket star forward, and I'm talking about Kirill Marchenko here. We have to spend a few minutes on this guy because 25 years old, 6'3" winger, 67 points in 76 games last season. 33 of those were on the power play, however. And he's under contract for $3.85 million until the end of this coming season. And apparently he told Columbus, I'm out. I don't want to sign with you guys. So
he's a rental player, basically. Very reasonable salary for 2027. Who knows then what he's going to ask for? Another $10 million a year guy, I would think. You know how it is. The asking price is going to be high.
Yep.
But the Habs are in a contention window. It depends on what they give up for this guy, because he is a rental player. And obviously, rental players, what do you get? It's a late first-round pick and an okay prospect. That's usually what you get, unless Columbus wants a lineup player, a roster player.
Columbus wants a lot, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. The thing with this guy, just to let you know, I always liked this guy. I thought he was a steal in his draft year. But at some point, when you like certain players at first, and then you sort of refine your thoughts and your thinking. And although I do like the player, I do realize that he has limitations in the sense that he is a big guy, but not necessarily a tough guy. And the power play point record is very, how can I say, is very revealing.
Yeah.
That he has half his points on the power play, which means that if he gets to Montreal and he's not a PP1 guy, then what does he become? A 42-point guy? Is he worth paying that much money? Let's say they sign him to an extension after trading for him. So I have reservations. It depends on the return, but I do like the player. I mean, he's, I like him. I'm not gonna, go nuts if the Habs trade for him, but I have reservations compared with how I saw him, let's say in his draft year. I evolve. I evolve.
So how much would you be willing to give up to acquire this player?
Well, he's a rental player, so I have to go with the asking price, which is usually late first. But you have to be careful with this. I don't know. Maybe I would put a very heavy protection on the pick. I'm not saying the Habs are going to fold this year. That's not what I'm saying. But as we saw in the past,
injuries happen.
Never know. Injuries happen. A couple of players have a bad season. You never know. There is no guarantee. Look at how some teams have fallen over the years after being... Look at Winnipeg this year, for instance. Let's say Winnipeg trades their first-round pick last year, thinking, it's going to be the 27th pick. We're a good team. We won the President's Trophy. They had the 8th pick overall. So I would put a heavy protection on the pick. I would put top 20 protection, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah, because let's say the Habs get 100 points this year, okay? But, Florida gets better, a couple of other teams get better, and they get eliminated in the second round, let's say. Well, that's the 20th pick, or 19th pick overall. I think you know what I mean. Yeah. So you have to be, I would put top 20 protection, first round pick, and probably, a B prospect.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough.
No.
I don't think it's but this is what I would give up for that type of player. Yeah.
Well, now I turn it over to the viewers. Let us know in the chat section how much you would be willing to give up to acquire Kirill Marchenko. All right, Snake, as I mentioned, the UFAs. We're going to rifle through some names.
Yes.
Tell me yes or no and how much.
Yeah.
First one has been linked to the Montreal Canadiens, and it makes sense. Mason Marchment, again of the Columbus Blue Jackets, 30 years old, left-handed winger, 6'5", had 45 points in 68 games last season. He is a UFA. Yes or no, and how much?
Yes. Trying to look at the market, because you can't lowball offer. Give this guy a lowball offer. I mean, it's ridiculous. But you have to have a ceiling, where you decide that you decide not to go through. I don't know, 4 times 7.5.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 times 7.5.
Big power winger. There you go. All right, next up. Still with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Captain Boone Jenner, 33 years old. He's a left-handed center/winger, 6'2", had 38 points in 67 games last season, 52.6% on the faceoff dot, but 147 hits. This guy will punish you. He's got 37 career playoff games. Yes, no, how much?
Yes, but I would say 2 times 6. And if he wants a third year, we lower the AAV maybe 3 times 5. Max.
Yeah.
But I would say yes. Yeah.
I like this player a lot, Snake. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if the Habs got him.
Yeah. But he's 33. He's 33.
Yeah, that's it. But again, still useful, right? 147 hits tells you the story there. he doesn't mind crashing and banging. All right. Another power winger here, Anders Lee, and a captain at that. 35 years old, however, left-handed winger, 6'3", 236 pounds. The guy is a tree trunk. 42 points in 82 games last season, 91 hits, 46 career playoff games. What say you?
I liked him a lot, but have you noticed I said I liked him a lot? I didn't say I liked him a lot. I think because he is Anders Lee, because he's still got 19 goals, he is a free agent, he's probably going to get a silly contract. I don't want to get involved in a silly bidding war for this guy.
Minnesota's going to take him anyways, so he's off the board. We'll pass along here to our gut chez nous, Anthony Manta, who had a career year here. 31 years old, left-handed winger, 6'5", 234 pounds. 64 points in 81 games with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's got 20 career playoff games. Yes or no?
No, because he's bounced around. Yes, he got a career year. I'm very, very wary of these guys because who knows what they're going to do next year, and they're going to cost too much money for what they're worth. They're not going to take a one-year contract. I think because now he's sort of back in the big leagues, if you see my point, because Anthony Manta, you can get for you could get him for next to nothing if you over the years at some point when teams gave up on him. Now he got a career season. No, I don't want to take the risk of giving like 4 or 5 years and seeing him underperform. Look, again, like I always say, good for them if they get the money. Good for them if he keeps scoring 33 goals. I have nothing against the player. I have nothing against players in general, as you know. But it's also a business. If I'm the Habs, if I'm Kent Hughes, no.
Yeah. He's going to cost quite a bit, and rightfully so. Good on him.
Look, Anthony,
payday, my friend.
If you're listening, Anthony, prove me wrong.
Get your payday, absolutely. Just won't be with Montreal. All right, next up, Eli Tolvanen. This is an interesting player, Snake, because 27 years old, fits the age group. Left-handed winger, but 5'10". However, 36 points, 78 games, 187 hits. This guy's a little bulldog. He's going in the corners. He's mucking it up. He doesn't care. 21 career playoff games. Is this a player that interests you?
I would say yes. I don't know if he's a perfect fit for Montreal, but I would say yes. He was 8 overall on my list when he got drafted 9 years ago. He was 8 overall. I wouldn't say he was disappointing for me, but maybe I overrated him a bit by ranking him number 8. He's a little bulldog. He can score, but he has warts in his game. Not necessarily the best defensive player you can get. But he's only 27, which is young for a free agent. But I would go short term with this guy, and he's probably looking for 6-7 years. 5, 6, 7 years. I would go short term. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times 5.5, which is not going to cut it.
Unfortunately not, but a player worth mentioning. Snake, my last forward here is the one that's been linked to the Habs the most, understandably so. It's AJ Greer of the Florida Panthers, 29 years old, 6'3", 32 points, 78 games, had the best year of his career, 203 hits this season. He has a Stanley Cup ring, 16 career playoff games. Yes or no?
No, because it's going to be too much money. Not because I don't like the player. Yeah. I've been following him since Collège Esther Blondin because he's from Joliette. He was playing midget AAA hockey. I never understood why Colorado did not keep him. He's exactly what they needed, when they lacked a little bit of grit. Thank God for him. Florida noticed it. Florida had him on their roster. Another guy who had a career season. I think if you see what Minnesota paid for Michael McCarron, I think this guy's going to break the bank. Again, good for him, but I'm not going to get involved in a bidding war because these guys, you never know when their body's going to break. I mean, he could be good for 5 years, but you really never know. He's a very aggressive player. But if there was no salary cap, honestly, And if you could cut players whenever you feel like the NFL, for instance,
Yeah.
I would obviously go for him. Oh, yeah. I love AJ Greer.
Hard not to. Hard not to. And good Chanu, Stanley Cup champion,
Yeah.
plays the style that the Montreal Canadiens would need.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Moving along now to the defense.
Mm-hmm.
3 defensemen for you. We're starting off in Anaheim with Jacob Trouba. You mentioned him already in the show. He is gone. 32 years old, right shot D, 6'3". Had 35 points in 81 games this season. Does have the offensive upside, but 143 hits and 149 block shots. Defensively minded, plays over 22 minutes a game, plays on the penalty kill, 85 career playoff games. Oof.
One of
Feels
his
like it's gonna
best
cost a lot,
one of his best seasons ever in Anaheim.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot this year. I think he went from being in the doghouse in New York to being a star in Anaheim this year. However, 32 years old, career season, is going to ask for 7 years. He's going to get probably 10 million a year or so. It's not. I think it's gonna end up probably being a very bad contract. The answer is no.
Would be a great fit, but way too much money.
But again, the type of guy, if you cut players and no salary cap, yeah, I would go for him. But it doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. Well, let's stick with the Anaheim Ducks now. Let's go with their captain, Radko Gudas.
Yeah.
36 years old, however, 6 foot, 207 pounds. Only played 56 games this season, but in those 56 games, had 164 hits. So the guy is a savage, plays upwards of 16 minutes per night, 58 career playoff games. Is this a type of player that would fit in Montreal?
Well, the Radko Gudas maybe of a few years ago, yes. Not anymore. Not interested. He didn't have a good season. He's 36. No.
Hard pass. I am with you there. Also can put you in some penalty troubles.
Yeah.
Gets suspended quite a bit as well. So no, don't need that here in Montreal. Last player, Snake, Trevor Van Riemsdyk. This is a name that Tony I know has mentioned quite a bit, but not many people other than that. 34 years old, 6'3", so big boy, 14 points in 68 games. Does not play a physical brand of hockey.
No.
12 hits only.
No.
Plays upwards of 16 minutes per game, 45 career playoff games, but is he a fit in Montreal?
No, for various reasons. Like you say, he's not that physical. He's 34, and although he's a big guy, but he's not a big point producer. Again, this is a guy, okay, 1 year, $4 million, okay. If you want to fill a hole, fill the gap before someone else is acquired or some rookie is ready, right-handed defenseman, yeah, one times 4, but no more.
There you go. Last thing I'd like to ask you on free agency, Snake, before we move along here to the mailbag. What's your philosophy on free agents? Because for me personally, I'm not dabbling in that.
No.
I'm not dabbling in free agents. It's always an overpay. You only get bottom 6 or bottom 4 defensemen in free agency. I don't believe in getting high upside players.
Well, look, Carolina did well, with Eric Robinson, William Carrier, these type of players. This is the type of player I would go for. But in general, my strategy would be to wait for the madness to fade. So I would probably start looking at guys on July 2nd. Once, everyone has signed, you're like, oh, this guy's still around. He might take less. So my action on free agency would be starting July 2nd, whatever is left.
I like it.
Barring exceptions. I mean, there's always
I like it a
exceptions.
lot.
But this year, I'm not excited about the value. I like some players, like I said. But, the value, like some guys, ending up getting 7 years, $10 million, no, I don't want that. Or guys getting 5 years, $5 million, when in my book they're worth probably, they're like 34 years old and they're worth like 2 years at, no. So July 2nd, I would start.
Agreed there. All right.
And you know what? On July 2nd, we'll talk about it. We'll see what's
It's
left
our last
on
show.
our last show.
It's our last show. So
yeah,
we
we'll
might
see
get some
what's
live
left.
signings on the show.
Yeah, and I might tell you, oh, these guys didn't sign it yesterday. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll see on July 2nd. We'll do a little recap of what's left on the table.
There you go. Can't wait for that. But we're not quite done just yet today because we got to go digging in the mailbag. One great question today. This one is coming from our good friend JP. I watched the draft on TV and was astonished by how afraid a certain analyst was regarding the number of first-round selections the St. Louis Blues have. In a frightening tone, they reminded viewers to be careful because NHL teams are limited to a maximum of 50 pro contracts. This was reminiscent of a narrative over the last 2 years here in Montreal, suggesting the Habs might be forced to dump one of the organization's best players simply because they had too many prospects. Is it possible to show how many times an NHL team was actually in a bad situation where they had to cut a player or trade a player due to this rule? Also, if this did happen, what tier of players were they? I'd like to use this to calm fans down about the 50 contract maximum.
Oh, JP, I think I talked about it over the years, maybe 2-3 years ago on a podcast. I think this is absolutely ridiculous talk. I did hear the comment you're mentioning on draft night. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you why it's ridiculous. But before I'll answer your question, how many players? Yeah, it did happen once in a while that a team is during the season is a little bit in a crunch and they have to dump a player for free just because they need to make a trade, or sometimes they're going to take on a contract because the other team can't make the trade. Okay, let's put it this way. No team has ever lost an impact player. I don't even remember the names. I remember the situations where it happened, but I don't remember the names. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. There are 23 players on an NHL roster, if you don't count the injured list. Now, if you add 23 players in the American Hockey League, you're at 46 now. You still have four spots left. So basically, we're looking at East Coast Hockey League players when you think about it, or injured players. Now, if that were such a concern, why would teams have to sign players to AHL contracts? If you had so many good players to fill out your 50-man roster, you would have 23 guys in the NHL, 23 guys in the American Hockey League. That would be 46. They signed tons of AHL players, which means that basically your pool shrinks maybe to 40, 38, 40. You always have room for 10 players. And I know that at some point teams will kind of get to 45, 46, 47, 48 maybe. But a lot of these players are so expendable. So this is absolutely silly talk, this 50. If the limit was 40, then I would be willing to listen. 40, there would be 50. I mean, come on. There's no roster management to do. I look at teams right now. Some teams have 35 players under contract for next year. They can sign 15 players starting tomorrow just to fill out AHL rosters, NHL rosters, and then again they run out of players to sign, and it's okay. Well, let's get some AHL contracts in.
Yeah.
So again, absolutely ridiculous, worthy of a rant. I don't know these guys sometimes why they. It's the boogeyman, the 50 contract limit is the boogeyman. JP, another great observation from you. And look, it's, I think you and I think the same way. I've seen your questions. I've seen your questions in French and in English. I think you and I think the same way. You're a good hockey mind, JP. Have a good summer. Well, you mentioned something in the comments section that I will discuss on the French podcast later today.
There you go. Snake, we've done it. our biggest show of the season. So much to cover, but it's over. We got one more to go before it's summertime for the both of us. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, interesting to see all the free agency market, the craziness, the madness on July 1st, although most guys, the best players were signed already. Maybe more trades, who knows? Who knows? Although it seems to be calming down. And let's see what the Habs do to revamp the Laval Rocket roster, because Trudeau, Roy, and Tuck, who were fixtures for 3 years, are gone.
Mm-hmm. Remains to be seen. Well, we'll be back on Thursday to talk about what happened in free agency, the players that are still available, and a whole lot more in between. The NHL is full of surprises, and we're very thankful for that. For Simon the Snake Boisvert, I'm producer Shayne. Thank you to producer Jimmy back at Master Control. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. We'll see you Thursday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.